Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to day 12. One of my favorite days today is going to be core fundamentals. Now, the core, what we'll define it as now is all the muscles that surround the spine. Okay, so that's what we'll say the core is today. So the exercises we're going to be utilizing today are going to be basically core stability exercises. So essentially we're trying to utilize their muscles in order to stiffen and stabilize our spine as force gets put onto us from different angles. Okay, so the way we'll break it up is into anti-extension. Okay, so basically resisting the urge to extend. Okay, that's going to work the front of the core. Anti-lateral flexion, resisting the urge to laterally flex or laterally bend. Okay, so we're resisting that motion. Anti-flexion, resisting the urge to flex the spine. Okay, so that's going to we'll feel that more through the core musculature on the back side. And then finally, anti-rotation. Okay, so resisting the urge to rotate. And again, that's going to be a real nice way of training our core, okay, because essentially when we are doing lots of different movements that involve producing lots of force from our extremities, from our shoulders, from our hips, from our limbs, it requires us to really stiffen in order to allow us to produce force from these limbs and gives us a stable platform to produce force from. Okay, so that's the intention behind the workout today, guys. Behind the session today, I'm going to go through them 4 different categories because the spine moves in 4 different ways. It extends, it flexes, it rotates, it bends. So we're going to utilize exercises that help us to stiffen and brace from going into them positions. Okay, so to begin with, guys, the way we're going to do this is we are going to do a 30-second on, 30-second off format. Okay, and we'll go through level 1 through to 3. Okay, so we'll start with anti-extension. We'll go through level 1, then level 2, then level 3. So what I'd suggest you do is go through the video a little bit, find the progressions that work best for you. Okay, then I'd suggest for each category, so anti-extension, anti-lateral flexion, anti-flexion, and anti-rotation, find exercise from each of them categories that suits you, and then do about 3 to 5 sets of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off in a circuit fashion. Okay, so one after the other, 30 on, 30 off for about 3 to 5 rounds. Okay, but you'll have to go through the video first to find the progressions that suit you and are sort of at your level. Okay, guys. All you will need is a tennis ball of some form, a band attached to a nice stable object. Make sure the mic's not catching. A band attached to a nice stable object, okay, which you might be able to see here. And then that is pretty much it, and then just plenty of space. Okay, so with that being said, guys, let's get into it. First exercise is going to be our plank for anti-extension. So we'll go through level 1, level 2, level 3 for anti-extension. First one is going to be our plank, 30 seconds, starting in 5, 4, 3. Okay, in position, we'll have feet together. Okay, we create a nice posterior pelvic tilt, pushing the shoulders into the floor, and we're trying to resist the urge to extend at the hips and to extend at the spine. Okay, so stiffening down, locking down in that position. Halfway there. And rest, guys, that's 30 seconds, okay? The second exercise is going to be your hollow or hollow rock, okay? So again, we're trying to resist the urge to extend. So the way we know we're in position is if our lower back is completely flat to the floor, okay? We'll start with the hollow, and if we're very comfortable with the hollow, we can take it into a rock. If we're not so comfortable, we can bend our knees into a tuck hollow, and we could try a tuck hollow rock, or we can regress back to the plank. So back remains completely flat. If we're comfortable, we can add a rock, but notice that shape stays exactly the same throughout. Resisting the urge to extend, maintain that shape, maintain that stiffness, that contraction through the front of the core, rectus abdominis, your 6-pack muscle. And relax. Okay, pretty tricky them ones, guys. If you are doing them, guys, making sure you're keeping that exact same shape throughout, no piking in the hips, keeping that same shape. The final one is going to be your extended plank. Dragon flags are also a great one, so feel free to Google them and have a look at them ones if you can do hollow rocks proficiently. But I don't have anywhere to do them in here, so we'll do extended plank. But bear in mind, dragon flags are also a good option. Both are good. Again, resisting the urge to extend. So we're locking down through the front. Nice extended plank position. Sliding ourselves out as far as we can. Resisting the urge to extend the spine or extend the hips. Pushing the hands and feet into the floor. Keeping that nice posterior pelvic tilt. It's like the hollow body position flipped over. And relax. Okay, that's your anti-extension. Choose one that's right for you and take a note down of that one, and you can use that when you come to do your circuit. Okay, now we're on to anti-lateral flexion, so resisting the urge to bend. We're starting off with a side plank. Okay, so elbow's going to go directly underneath the forearm, the top leg's going to come in front. Okay, hand on the hip. From there, we are simply going to keep a straight line from head to toe, drive the hips up, resisting the urge to laterally flex. So pushing them hips up. You start to feel the oblique muscles, the QL, trying to stop us from bending down towards the floor. Resist against gravity, wanting to pull our hips down. Okay, relax. Now we'll swap sides. Okay, looking for a straight line from head to toe here, guys. So I'll show you from this angle. One foot in front of the other. So all the way from my head, through my shoulder, through my hip, my knee. And obviously the feet are slightly apart, but looking for a nice straight line. Keeping one shoulder on top of the other, one hip on top of the other, and avoiding that urge to let the hips drop. Pushing the shoulder into the floor, create that stability through the shoulder. Okay, progressing that one step further into level 2. Level 2, anti-lateral flexion or lateral bend is going to be our side star plank. Same setup, the bottom foot's going to stay in line with the body, the top foot's going to lift up. Okay, so it's a little bit more unstable. Our base support is being shortened a little bit, so we have to work a little bit harder, and also you'll feel it quite a lot on the outside of the glutes. Okay, to me guys, the glutes are still part of the core in certain contexts. You can put a hand on the hip, we can put the arm up, whatever you fancy, whatever looks more elegant. So you'll feel this one again in the same place, the obliques, QL, but also in the outside of the glutes as well, the outside of the hip. Really working hard to keep just that one foot supporting you. Okay, swapping sides. Using that rest period to get a breath through the nose. Okay, 10 seconds. Back into your side start plank, getting yourself nice and stable. 5. Good stuff. Okay, I'll just pause it for a second, timer. So from here, guys, the final exercise for our anti-lateral flexion is going to be a little bit more complex, be a bit more dynamic. Okay, and that is our suitcase carry. So you're just going to need a bag. I think I didn't say this at the start, did I? But a bag, and then some sort of heavy weights or bottles filled with water, sandbags, whatever you've got, your kid, whatever. Stick it in your bag, And about sticking your kid in the bag, that's probably not a good idea. Tell I don't have children. So from here, okay, we're simply gonna take that bag. So I'll have to move the camera up a wee bit. Okay, from here, I'm just gonna march on the spot. You can do that also, that's fine. If you want to march on the spot, it's also fine, but if you've got a bit of space, have a walk around your garden or your house or whatever, just not knocking anything over. Okay, we're simply going to take the bag to one side. Okay, it's deadlift it up in the middle. Okay, once it's deadlifted up, try and keep it off the waist, arms straight. Okay, we're trying to resist the urge to let the bag pull us down. Nice and upright, engaging to this side, and then we can just march, or you can walk around if you can. Resisting the urge to bend to the side. Okay, so we're nice and upright. This arm's engaged, this side's nice and engaged. The bag's off the waist, off the legs. Okay, 30 seconds rest. So really good one there, guys. Obviously, we've got the complexity now of actually moving dynamically, but again, we've got to stiffen and stabilize through the torso, through the core, to avoid us from laterally bending. Okay? You can probably tell I've had a coffee this morning. Whew, I feel like I'm flying. Okay, 5 seconds. So from the side, you'll notice. 3, 2, 1. Nice and upright. Let myself bend to the side. Standing tall. Looking forwards, nice and locked in. Halfway there. And relax. Really is one of my favourite core stability exercises, that one, guys. Such a good exercise. Okay, so now we're getting into anti-flexion. I'm going to start with what's called good mornings. Okay, so the idea here with the anti-flexion is resisting the urge to flex at the spine. Okay, so we're trying to keep that nice, neutral, locked in spine position. Hands on the hips, feet about shoulder width in that nice hinge position. We'll place the hands on the head, in fact, so the leverage is a bit greater. From there, we hinge the hips back, keeping that spine nice and straight, and we stand tall. Hinge back, weight into the heels, spine remains neutral the whole time. Okay, we're avoiding the urge to flex and round. Inhale, brace. Put our arms overhead to make it harder, even more leverage.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, next one's going to be a Kang squat. A little bit more complex. We go from a good morning into a squat, back to a good morning, and we stand up. Okay, not necessarily more load, but just a little bit more complex because we're moving between that squat and hinge. Some people do this with a barbell, just an empty bar usually as a warm-up. Like weightlifters I've seen do a little bit. It's quite a nice little exercise. Deadlifts are also anti-flexion as well, because you're resisting the urge to flex. Weights wanting to pull you down. Okay, good morning, squat. Good morning, stand. I'll keep my hands on my head. Good morning, squat. Good morning, stand. Keeping that nice neutral position. Good morning, squat. Good morning, stand. Good morning, squat. Good morning, stand. Resisting the urge to flex. Good morning, squat. Good morning, stand. Okay, let's get that kettlebell out. And the last one, which is your goblet squat press outs. Again, a fantastic exercise, this one, guys. So big old Dan John doing it. It's a good one. Okay, so all I want to do is get into a squat position with some sort of load. Start off nice and light, guys. It's a lot harder than it looks at first. We're simply going to press the weight out, bring it back in. Press the weight out, bring it back in. Again, keeping that nice and neutral position.
2, 1.
We squat down, press out, back in. Press out, back in. Staying upright, keeping that nice neutral spine. Pushing the knees out, really resisting that urge to flex. Notice I'm holding my breath as I extend out.
3, 2, 1.
A tough one, very tough one. Okay, that's the end of the anti-flexion. Level 1, good morning. Level 2, Kang squat. Level 3, goblet squat with press out. Now we're getting into bird dog. Okay, we've done these before. This starts us off quite nicely. Quick. This starts us off quite nicely for the anti-rotation, because as we extend the limbs, we're resisting the urge to rotate. Okay, ball on the back. Might have coffee shakes, might fall off. Torso stays nice and stiff. The hip and shoulder, so the hip to the hip, the shoulder to the shoulder, so stay in a nice line. That's showing us that we're avoiding the rotation. Pressing the hand and the opposite and the stationary leg into the floor.
3, 2, 1.
Hold the position, rest for 30 seconds, and we'll simply swap sides. I'm gonna kick something now. Again, shoulder to shoulder stays in line, hip to hip stays in line as well. Is it recording? I think so.
3, 2, 1.
Again, bracing, inhale, brace as I extend. So slow there. Yeah, it's still recording. Perfect. Whoa. That's good. So, next up is our Pallof press. Okay, so we just need that band. Feel free to pause it. I know I'm rushing. We just need that band wrapped around the object. I'll put it right around the table here. From here, opposite leg forwards in that nice lunge position. Nice and stable. We grab onto the band. We press out. We press back in. We press out. We press back in. Resisting the urge to rotate as I press out. Pressing straight out in front of us. Pushing the feet down into the floor. Gazing forwards. Okay, that's your Pallof press. Now we'll swap sides. So again, setting for that nice stable lunge position. Grabbing onto that band, nice and upright, resisting the urge to rotate. So the band's going to want to pull us to the right. We've got to resist that urge. You could also use a partner as well. That would work quite well if the partner was trying to push you to the right or pull you to the right if they're on the opposite side of you. And you're resisting that urge. Inhale, brace as we press out. And relax. Awesome stuff. Final exercise, and the final anti-rotation exercise is going to be our single leg deadlift with a cheeky pause. Okay. So, stand on one leg. Okay, we've done a little bit of this before. This is a great exercise. Obviously, it's a bit more complex than the last two because we're already balancing on one leg. From here, we hinge down, we keep a straight line from head to toe, we keep the hip and shoulder in line, and we stand tall. 2-second pause at the bottom, and then stand tall. Remember that tripod foot, if you feel like you're losing balance. big toe, little toe, heel, gripping into the floor. 1, 2, stand tall. 1, 2, stand tall. When you're in that bottom position, imagine you've got a champagne glass resting on your lower back, keeping it balanced there.
2, 1.
Good stuff, we'll swap sides. Final set, final 30 seconds. Okay, in 3,
3, 2, 1.
1, 2, stand tall. Again, shoulder and shoulder horizontally aligned, hip and hip horizontally aligned. And there we have it. Okay, so that is our core fundamentals. One thing to mention, guys, as you go through the progression, so again, what I suggest you do is you find the 4 exercises from each category. Once again, anti-extension, anterolateral flexion, anti-flexion, and anti-rotation, resisting the urge for gravity or whatever object it is we've got pulling against us to flex into that position or to move into that position. So we're using our core musculature to stabilize and lock in and keep that spine nice and stiff against the forces that are acting against us, okay? So the idea is with it, go through it, find a progression from each level that works for you, and then I'd suggest doing 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off in a circuit fashion, so going from anti-extension to anterolateral flexion, etc., for about 3 to 5 rounds, okay? Doing that a couple of times a week, guys, and you're going to be making some really good progress. In terms of bumping up the levels, what I'd suggest you do is have a little bit of time outside or at the end of the session to actually practice the next level that you're going to move on to. Remember, like, specificity, guys, so when it comes to an exercise, it's not always as linear as just like, oh, I get quite good at a plank and then I can go and do my hollow. There also is an element of practice involved with each of the steps as well. So going from level 1 to 2 might not be as smooth as being able to do 30 seconds easily. You might also have to go in and practice a little bit with less time constraints in order to really master and get effective at doing the next progression. Okay, so just bear that in mind, guys, when you are bumping through the levels, that practice is often very, very important. Yeah, other than that, I think that pretty much sums us up. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, a little bit more energy from the coffee burst. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Like I say, a couple of times a week on this one, and you're doing very well. It acts as a nice finisher to your sessions, so it can also act as a nice warm-up as well, especially if you do struggle a little bit with back pain. It can help to really prime your system before you maybe go into some heavier loads, okay, or some more dynamic and complex movement patterns. Awesome, guys, that was day 12, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Enjoy.